This program was brought to you by Ogletree Dinkins, employers and lawyers working together.
Nelson with Cascade Media Group. And what's up, Kansas City? And what's up today? We have the president of St. Teresa's High School on the show. Who do we have here?
Hi, it's my pleasure. This is Dr. Siabhan May Washington.
Hey, Dr. Washington, uh, you've been on the show before, but let's go rewind and tell our audience a little bit about yourself because they might didn't see previous interviews. Let them know where you come from and how you rose to the position of president at St. Teresa's.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Nelson. I have been working in education for 30 years. So I'm in my first year of leadership at St. Teresa's. Before St. Teresa's, I was at Pembroke Hill Upper School as an assistant principal. I also, before Pembroke Hill, I worked at Lincoln College Prep. I was the IB International Baccalaureate Coordinator. And forever and always, I'm an English teacher. So I started out teaching English
I want
at
to interrupt
Anderson
you for a
Alternative
minute. What year was you at Lincoln Prep?
from 1996 through 2003.
All right, because see, uh, coincident, Lincoln Prep is where I started my company.
Oh,
And
wow.
I started my company with interns out of Lincoln Prep.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the castle on the hill. So
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Go
I,
on.
I have fond memories of my time at Lincoln. So my early career, I started at Anderson Alternative School. I worked there. That was my first job, working with students at risk who were affiliated with the juvenile justice system. And then from there, I went to Lincoln Prep, and from Lincoln Prep to Pembroke Hill. And I also have been an adjunct professor for Park University. And now I am happily settled at St. Teresa's.
So, uh, tell me this, and I do this with my athletes, and now I have been doing it with my coaches. Uh, Talk about some of the mentors that help you build your skill set to where it's at that allow you to reach the level that you have reached. Because a lot of times we forget, and off camera, I talk to you about uh, whose shoulders I stand on, Earl Graves, and
Mhm.
different people that were mentors to me. As I talk to you about Brian Wimes' daddy, Chuck Wimes. Uh, who
Mhm.
talk about some of the people that uh, you stand on the
Mentors.
show and give them their propers.
Okay. Well, in terms of education, I'll take it back to the very first principal who hired me, the late Clarence Cole. He passed away, I think about maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. But Clarence Cole hired me when I was looking for a job. I remember I went to an interview down at used to be called Metro Tech off of 18th Street,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a job hiring career fair with all the different principals from schools in the area. And I had no prior experience. I had just graduated with my teaching degree from UMKC. And so I was not experienced, but Clarence Cole took a chance on me and hired me to be an English teacher at his school. And, I was a young teacher, and he mentored me to remember to be professional and to, even though those kids came from very challenging backgrounds, but they were very much wanting an education, and their parents wanted them to have the best education possible, and to always just to see the humanity in the kids and their parents. So that always stuck with me. The lessons from Clarence Cole to be professional and to mentor uh, the families and the kids. So he was a huge influence in my life. And then after that, I would say my sister, Teresa May, was principal for years at Phyllis Wheatley Elementary School. And so she mentored me as well to, just to take education and leadership very seriously. And so my sister, as well as my entire family, I'm the youngest of 7.
Mhm.
And so I was always kind of guided by their wisdom and what they were doing in their lives. And I think it really helped shape me and my parents, of course, my late parents as well. Very hardworking, loving people that mentored me.
Uh, let's talk about St. Teresa's and uh, what you're doing there, how long you've been there, and uh, how you plan to build on their legacy. And possibly you might be trying to create a uh, different culture. We talked a little bit about diversity and
Mhm.
uh, what you're trying to bring to that institution.
I'm so blessed. I really am loving the campus and the people at St. Teresa's Academy. It's a school that has such a long-standing history in the community since 1866. And so there are so many families that have connections with St. Teresa's from
I think
all
I
walks of
told you
life.
that my vice president, both of his daughters graduated from St. Teresa's. One's a doctor now, and one happens to be your assistant athletic director.
Oh, Cat Williams,
Right.
absolutely. Yes. I love hearing when I'm in the community, so many people have graduated from St. Teresa's or they know people. There are 2 individuals who work in the mayor's office and they are St. Teresa's Academy graduates. And so there's a rich history with the school. People love the school. I'm just really impressed with the solidarity and the unity, and everyone's committed to our mission of empowering
I'm
women.
impressed that they hired an African American female to be at the helm of St. Teresa's. And that's what I wanted to go into this diversity issue
Absolutely.
with you on
Well,
letting our community know that St.
mhm.
Teresa's welcomed them with open arms.
That is absolutely the case, and I think sometimes people are not aware of that. So the board of trustees, I mean, they had a search, and so I applied for the position. After reading the job description, I knew I was well qualified for the position. And, not just me, I'm looking to expand our teaching force as well as our student population. It's a place of welcoming. That's part of our mission is we love the dear neighbor without distinction. So we are trying to get the word out that all are welcome.
I
Um,
know that Cascade Media Group in What's Up Kansas City I believe our association has been at least 5 years or more. And when I didn't feel welcome at some of the other private schools, St. Teresa's, we was covering their volleyball and different things. And then during the election, we had like a round table, and I was
yeah,
very impressed.
absolutely. I mean, it's a top-notch, stellar institution, and I have been very blessed. I've been working there since June. Right now, of course, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are all working virtually, but the guiding principles of our mission and vision are still very strong. We're
What are
keeping
y'all
our sense
doing
of
on the
community.
virtual scene? Tell our audience a little bit about that.
Well, we are still maintaining our curriculums. Our teachers are teaching virtually through Zoom classes. In addition to the teaching activities, we have our advisors that are touching base with their advisees. Our clubs are still meeting. Our sports, the governor, school will be canceled for the rest of the year, but prior to that cancellation, our coaches were still doing virtual workouts with the athletes. So as much as we can, we're maintaining that community despite,
What's
the
happening with the
challenges.
2020 graduating class?
Well, those plans are still being determined, but we are going to celebrate regardless. So right now we've postponed graduation to be June the 12th at the music hall. So we're hoping that we can have an in-person graduation. We may have to extend the date beyond June, but if we can't be together because of, health reasons, we're going to do a virtual celebration.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just have to think of new traditions to honor our graduates. So as best as we can, we want to have those celebrations.
Talk to our audience a little bit about what you might have in mind for 2021.
Well, what I have in mind is just continued excellence. So I want to expand. Right now, we are the second school in the nation to have STEAM accreditation. So we are one of the top recognized schools in the nation where our girls are heavily involved in science, technology, and engineering and mathematics excellence. So we're going to continue to soar in those areas. I want to continue to improve our design thinking curriculum in all of our areas. I'm going to be working hard to fundraise so that we can have more students to get scholarships to attend St. Teresa's.
How's the alumni? The alumni, are they kicking in for the most part?
They are, but certainly there's room for improvement. We recently did a online giving day, and I was very pleased that many of our alumni from all across the country, they participated. It was a social media online giving day, and we raised over $50,000 through that. Right now, I am running, my marketing and development team, we have a Love the Dear Neighbor Emergency Fund campaign. So we're looking for donations to help families who are affected because of the pandemic. We're looking for donations so that they can continue their private school education with us.
How about if you have that by memory, let our audience know how they can donate.
Support that?
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Please, they can go to our website, St.Teresa's.academy.org. And on our website, there's a Love the Dear Neighbor Emergency Fund. There's a link that they can donate. It's also on all of our social media right now, Facebook and Twitter, as well as LinkedIn and Instagram. There's a link where they can donate to our fund.
Excellent. Day before yesterday, I'm getting old, we did an interview with the new athletic director over at UMKC, and everybody's trying to raise the funds. And what some of his people, he said that he had 100 that were steadfast, but he has grown that to 500 by getting to know the alumni and getting active effort. And that sounds like what you're trying to do with St. Teresa's.
It absolutely is. Prior to the pandemic, I was having in-person meetings and lunches and
what
coffees.
He was doing.
Right. But now, of course, it's a challenge given, the stay-at-home order. But, I'm trying to make those phone calls and having Zoom meetings and using our social media to keep those community connections.
Because you have some illustrious graduates from St. Teresa's.
We do. Kiki Curls is one of our illustrious graduates, and Shawnee Tate Ross, I don't know if she is a vice president, I believe, of the Sprint Center. Dr. Marion Pearson. These are some of the African American graduates that I'm mentioning.
Right.
But we have many illustrious.
Who's in the mayor's office right now? If you know their names.
I can't, I'm so sorry, but I know that Mayor Lucas's legal counsel, his attorney, is one of our graduates.
Because he comes on our show once a week, and I deal with a young lady named Morgan.
Oh yes, so I think that she's his. I think social media.
Right, and she's
promoter.
Been very professional, very very approachable, and really got the same type of welcome that I got at St. Teresa's when it comes to having access to the mayor and so forth.
I think her name is Morgan Saeed, maybe.
Right.
Yes.
Right. All right.
Yeah. So we churn out only the best.
I like that. Big plug for St. Teresa's.
Thank you. Yeah. And so we're all about the academics, but also we're all about just nurturing good people, good character. Part of our mission is our Catholic values, teaching to love your neighbor without distinction. So we believe in teaching our graduates to have that civic responsibility. So that it's not just about the self. What can you do to help your neighbor?
You know what? You sounding like John F. Kennedy a little bit. As Kennedy said, it's not what your country can do for you. What can you do for your country? And I break it down to what you can do for your community. It's not all about you. It's about
Right.
your community. And in closing, what words of encouragement or what would you have to say to the overall Kansas City community?
Overall, Kansas City, it's all about persevering and resilience and stay hopeful. Right now, especially, I've been talking to my students and my faculty. It's a very concerning time right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, but just stay strong. I mean, there's light at the end of this tunnel. The way we're going to get through it is to be together and just to help each other despite the challenges. We're gonna come through this stronger.
Hey, May, it was a pleasure having you on the show. And as we always say when we close on all our shows, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
Thank you.
Program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.